Imagine a world where stealing from one of the busiest airports in the world goes unnoticed for over a decade. A single man, with nothing but his wits and a smile, pulls off one of the most audacious heists ever, turning millions of dollars in stolen goods into an international empire. But how did he manage to outsmart the system for so long? Buckle up, because this story is about to reveal the ultimate con and the shocking twist that brought it all crashing down. Pearson, the largest international airport in Canada, located in Toronto, boasts some of the biggest cargo terminals in the world. Shipments arrive here non-stop from across the globe. Every day, millions of goods are received, making it a relentless process. All of these goods are stored in a vast and spacious facility designed to accommodate an endless flow of shipments. From electronics to luxury items, this facility houses a wide variety of products. You name it, and you can probably find it there. It's almost like walking into a gigantic toy store as a kid, surrounded by endless wonders. Stealing from such a place might seem like a dream to some, but it's a surefire way to end up in handcuffs. The facility is protected by a security force of more than 100 police officers. However, in the late 80s and early 90s, the airport administration uncovered a troubling pattern. High-end products such as cameras, hard drives, computers, and other valuable items, sometimes worth up to $500,000, were mysteriously vanishing. The police wasted no time forming a dedicated task force to figure out how these thieves managed to bypass the airport's seemingly airtight security. The perimeter was heavily guarded, surveillance cameras were everywhere, and security guards were stationed at critical points to check IDs and grant access. Yet, despite all these measures, cargo kept disappearing for years, and the police were at a loss. The investigation faced numerous challenges. One major issue was the late discovery of stolen goods. The facility was so massive and chaotic, with shipments moving in and out daily, that identifying missing items was nearly impossible. Adding to the complexity was the lack of modern inventory systems. It was the 90s, and tracking stolen cargo was like searching for a needle in a haystack. This delay in identifying thefts also meant that by the time the police were informed, often days or even weeks later, any potential evidence was long gone. Leads dried up before investigations even began. Warehouse employees who were like a close-knit family or even a gang added another layer of difficulty. Having worked together for years, they knew each other well, making it nearly impossible for the police to infiltrate or extract meaningful information from them. Despite countless attempts to stop the thefts, the police investigations were ineffective, leaving them feeling powerless. Eventually, the police concluded that an organized crime ring operating within the airport was responsible for the thefts. They believed it was a large, well-coordinated group that had detailed knowledge of the airport's cargo operations, from security protocols to supervisor routines and truck driver schedules. Such a sophisticated operation, they thought, required a network of insiders working together. But they were wrong. In a twist that surprised everyone, the thefts were actually orchestrated by a single individual. Not a director or supervisor, but a simple truck driver. This man, without any high-ranking access or insider privileges, managed to outsmart the airport's security and steal over $7 million worth of cargo, selling it across the globe. Curious about how he pulled it off? Hold on, we'll get to that. First, let's meet the mastermind behind it all. His name was Ho Lamong, a Vietnamese immigrant who came to Toronto, Canada, in the late 80s with just $50 in his pocket. Determined to achieve wealth, Ho was willing to do whatever it took to succeed. He quickly integrated into the local Asian community, earning a reputation as a kind and approachable man. His ever-present smile earned him the nickname Smiley. Through his friendly demeanor, he made many connections and built a positive reputation. Before long, Smiley met Teresa, a fellow Vietnamese immigrant, and the two hit it off immediately. Their chemistry was undeniable, and they quickly married. Smiley moved into Teresa's apartment, where he lived with her teenage son, Benny. Teresa worked at a shipping company and helped Smiley land a job there as a truck driver. His role was simple: pick up goods from Pearson Airport and deliver them to businesses across the city. However, the job only paid $1,600 a month, which wasn't nearly enough for Smiley to fulfill his dream of becoming rich. During his deliveries, Smiley noticed something that sparked an idea. As he delivered goods to stores, he got a good look at their prices. Many of the items were highly valuable, and Smiley couldn't help but imagine how wealthy he could become if he got his hands on a few of them. But there was a problem. Smiley's job was to deliver goods, not take them. Stealing from his truck wasn't an option. That's when he realized that the warehouse itself presented a better opportunity to steal without drawing attention. However, Smiley didn't have unrestricted access to the warehouse. His pass only allowed him into a small area where he would wait for workers to load his truck. Security was tight. He had to present his ID and pass to enter, and the pass had to remain visible around his neck at all times. Determined, Smiley came up with a plan. He began building stronger relationships with the warehouse workers. He was already well liked for his friendly nature, but he took it further by inviting them to dinners, giving them gifts, and focusing on those who seemed to be struggling financially. He identified workers who were drowning in debt or struggling to make ends meet, knowing they would be more likely to take risks for extra money. One day, Smiley approached a worker while he was loading goods onto the truck. He made an offer. "Throw in an extra skid of goods and I'll give you $2,000. No one will ever know." The worker was stunned. The offer was tempting, too tempting to refuse. He agreed, confident that the missing cargo wouldn't be noticed for a long time and couldn't be tracked back to him. Smiley went home that day with a skid full of electronics worth over $100,000. For Smiley, it was the start of a lucrative operation, a successful investment that would soon spiral into something much bigger. Mr. Smiley paid just $2,000 to earn a staggering $100,000. However, this presented a new challenge. He needed buyers for the stolen goods. To solve this, he began building connections with computer store owners, selling the products to them at prices that were lower than the market rate. On another occasion, Smiley paid one of the workers again to load an extra skid of merchandise. This time, it was a shipment of clothes, less valuable than electronics but still profitable. He managed to sell it to friends and acquaintances for a discounted price, just like before. And so, Smiley's operation continued to grow. His network expanded both in terms of workers he bribed to help with his thefts and buyers willing to purchase stolen goods. This marked the beginning of his criminal empire. But there was still one major problem. Because the stolen cargo was randomly selected, Smiley never knew what he was getting. Sometimes it was electronics, other times clothes or completely different items. This lack of consistency made it difficult for him to find the right buyers for each type of product. Every new batch of stolen goods meant starting from scratch and finding people willing to buy it. To address this issue, Smiley brought his wife, Teresa, into the operation as an accomplice. Since they worked for the same company, Teresa had access to detailed information about incoming cargo. She could tell him which flights were carrying high-value shipments, the worth of the cargo, and where it would be stored in the warehouse. With Teresa's inside information, Smiley carefully planned his thefts. He mapped out which cargo to target and cross-referenced the details with his list of workers he knew he could bribe. This new strategy allowed Smiley to steal specific high-value shipments and even line up buyers before the goods were taken. His thefts became more efficient and profitable. As Smiley set his sights on increasingly expensive cargo, his operation expanded, but so did his challenges. The sheer volume of stolen goods made distribution a daunting task. To solve this, Smiley enlisted the help of his stepson, Benny, who quickly became an integral part of the scheme. Smiley treated Benny like his own son, and Benny respected him deeply in return. Benny took on the task of distributing electronics and computer accessories and proved to be an even better salesman than Smiley himself. With his charm and sharp business skills, Benny built his own connections with computer store owners, earning their trust. To appear legitimate, Benny created fake invoices and business cards under the alias Joe Yang, presenting himself as a representative of a non-existent shipping company. Most store owners never suspected a thing, believing they were buying legal goods from a reliable source. Despite Benny's success in selling the stolen goods quickly and efficiently, the Smileys faced another issue: storage. Their frequent theft operations led to a massive accumulation of goods, and they needed a safe place to store everything. Public storage facilities were too risky, so Smiley decided to purchase 2 houses next to each other. He and his family lived in one house, while the other served as a private storage facility for the stolen goods. Every day, the Smileys brought in cargo and stored it there. Their neighbors often noticed them coming and going with loads of merchandise, which naturally piqued their curiosity. However, Smiley's pleasant personality was his greatest defense. He was always kind and respectful to his neighbors, engaging them in friendly conversations and even giving them gifts. His charm and generosity made him appear beyond suspicion. If anyone ever asked about the goods, Smiley had a simple explanation. He told them he worked in the shipping industry and occasionally used his house as a warehouse. His explanation, combined with his likable demeanor, was enough to dissuade any doubts. As Smiley's empire expanded, so did his problems with distribution. The supply of stolen goods far outpaced demand, and he found himself with more products than buyers. His house-turned-warehouse began to overflow with merchandise, creating new challenges for his growing criminal operation. In the late 90s, during the early days of the Internet revolution, a game-changing opportunity presented itself to Mr. Smiley. A group of websites emerged, including eBay, a platform that allowed people to buy and sell anything from anywhere in the world. What made it particularly useful for Smiley was that it didn't require sellers to register with valid IDs, bank accounts, or even legitimate addresses. All that mattered was buyer satisfaction. No questions were asked about how the products were obtained or where they came from. Smiley saw the potential immediately and began listing his stolen goods on eBay. With the incredibly low prices he offered, the sales poured in, not just from Canada, but from all over the world. Soon, Smiley and his family were busy packaging and shipping stolen goods directly from their home, which had also become their warehouse. The process became faster, easier, and far more profitable. Thanks to eBay, the Smileys achieved a staggering 19,000 sales, significantly increasing their fortune and enabling their empire to thrive for an unbelievable 13 years. That's right. Over a decade of theft went unnoticed by both the police and the airport administration. Smiley understood that the loyalty of the cargo workers was essential to keeping his operations alive. He went to great lengths to keep them happy, whether it was through gifts, paying their bills, or simply being there for them in times of need. Of course, bribery also played a major role. This strategy ensured that the workers stayed loyal and that his operation continued to run smoothly for more than a decade. Despite their best efforts, the police were still in the dark. Even with intensified investigations and undercover operations, they couldn't pinpoint who was behind the thefts. The police were stuck monitoring cargo as it was loaded onto trucks, unable to tell whether it was stolen or part of routine business. With hundreds of warehouse workers as potential suspects, narrowing down the list seemed like an impossible task. But then, in November 2001, the police got their first real lead. A computer store owner reported a break-in at his store, during which several hard drives were stolen. When the police examined the stolen items, they discovered something crucial. The serial numbers on the hard drives matched those of stolen goods from the airport thefts. For the first time, they had a traceable connection between the stolen cargo and a suspect. The store owner revealed that he had purchased the hard drives from a shipping company represented by a man named Joe, and he provided the police with a contact number. When the police traced the number, it led them straight to Benny, Smiley's stepson. Benny was immediately placed under surveillance. The police surveillance paid off. They observed Benny collecting goods from the family's house, which doubled as their warehouse. When he opened the garage, they were shocked to see walls of stolen merchandise. The police finally realized they had found the culprits. Further investigation revealed that the house belonged to none other than Mr. Smiley. However, the police were cautious. They held off on making an arrest until they had enough evidence to build a strong case. A dedicated team of investigators monitored Smiley and his family around the clock, carefully documenting every move they made. They tracked Smiley from the moment he picked up his truck to the airport, watched him load his vehicle, deliver legitimate goods, and then transport stolen cargo back to his house. Once they had gathered all the evidence they needed, the police made their move. On December 13, 2001, they raided Smiley's house and arrested the entire family: Mr. Smiley, his wife Teresa, and his stepson Benny. What they found inside the house astonished them. It was essentially a fully stocked warehouse, overflowing with stolen goods. Even more shocking was the amount of cash scattered throughout the house: on the stairs, under beds, in drawers, and even in Benny's room. In total, the police recovered $1.2 million in cash. The entire family was charged with possession of stolen property. Before the trial, Mr. Smiley made a deal with the police. He agreed to plead guilty and take full responsibility for the operation on the condition that Teresa and Benny would be released. Smiley also cooperated with the investigation, returning over $6 million in cash and property. In the end, the police accepted the deal. Smiley received a reduced sentence and served just 2 years in prison. And so, the incredible 13-year-long crime spree finally came to an end. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the bell button to stay updated with more fascinating tales like this one.